And who, honestly, who could help but disagree? But agree, I'm sorry. He didn't hear that. He didn't hear that, okay? So with that, I'd like to introduce our New York State Attorney General, Eric Schneiderman.
Thank you. Thank you, fellow Democrats. Wow. A lot of people here today. And some of you are even not candidates. Thank you, Frank, for that great introduction. And thanks to all of you for, this is really an amazing gathering. To Karen and Bea, it's great. It's great to see the people who make all the rest of us look good, rewarded and appreciated. So thank you for your service. Behind every public official are dozens of people who toil away without a lot of recognition. It's great to see you getting this recognition today. And I'm just to make it clear, I am in no way, shape, or form a rock star, but Bea clearly is. So thank you. You have a great set of public servants representing you here, colleagues in government. Mike Hine is with us, Mayor Noble. I've seen others here today. Great partners in government, and I'm pleased that we've been able to do good work together. Frank just mentioned the work I did to recover billions of dollars from the banks that contributed to the crash of the economy in 2008. The last land bank we set up was just awarded, and that is Kingston, New York's land bank, so I'm very pleased some of that money will be coming here. And I also do want to acknowledge someone we lost recently, a colleague and friend. Frank Skartatos was a great partner in government, and right now, when we faced so many challenges, and I will talk a little bit about it, attacks on immigrants and immigration, Frank always was Exhibit A as to what immigrants have done for this country, can do for this country. He never forgot where he came from. He never, he never made a big deal out of it, but he was just a great, down-to-earth, humble public servant and a great colleague and will be missed. So, thinking of Frank. And everyone else here, our labor leaders, our state party director, Jeff Berman. We are here at an incredible moment in American history, and I don't say that. I used to be hesitant to talk like this, but I am no longer. What's happened in the last year and a half has been extraordinary, at times traumatizing, but what's the expression? No matter how cynical you are, it's hard to keep up. Well, that certainly applies to a lot of what we've seen, but the battle lines are drawn very clearly, and it is up to us as Democrats to come back in and show the American people that government is a force for good, and there are those who do take seriously our constitutional structure, our commitment to the rule of law. And I'm just, I joke about it, but I'm really pleased as I travel around the state, the number of people who want to run for office, the number of people who want to support those running for office. Anybody here running for Congress? Anybody running for the state Senate or Assembly? Scoofus, I don't hear you. Any Republican state senators? Oh, wait, they all retired. So Jeff is online right now to see if anyone retires in the course of our remarks. So look, this is people talk about a blue wave coming. This is not a wave that comes by itself. This is not a tsunami generated by an earthquake on the other side of the world. This is a wave that we are all in the process of creating. You are in the process of creating. And I have never seen, this reminds me of when I was a kid back in the anti-war movement in the late 60s and early 70s. I haven't seen anything like this since then. But people are much more sophisticated about informing themselves than we ever were. And the Ulster County Democratic Committee has to be the channel to direct all this energy into a positive force. You have critical races up and down the ballot here this fall, and it's just an incredible moment in politics. And as challenging as some of the governmental stuff that's happening is, the political moment could not be more of an opportunity, but it is just an opportunity, and it is up to us to seize it. So I love being your lawyer. I love being the lawyer for the people of the state of New York. And I'm proud of the work our office has done to build what has really become an extraordinary legal resistance to the bad public policies that spew out of our nation's capital like debris from some toxic volcano of bad ideas. Now, as Frank mentioned, I came into this current era with a slight advantage over other people since I got to know Donald Trump before he was president. And there's a special relationship you develop with fraud defendants when you sue them. But suing Donald Trump Thank you. Suing Donald Trump was not quite like suing anybody else. In the summer of 2013, I sued him because he had this phony university that was not a university, and the state education department was chasing them around, and he was the pitchman, and we had his videos saying his handpicked experts would teach you his personal secrets in real estate, and then learned in depositions that he couldn't name one of the experts who were supposedly handpicked, and he had never seen the curriculum, so much for his personal secrets. So when I sued him, though, unlike most fraud defendants who figure, oh, it was a fraud case against me, let me try and resolve it and lay low, he wanted to talk about it. So he went on national TV over and over again, accused me of conspiring with President Obama about his phony university, and that this was a plot in the White House to take him. This is way before anyone thought he would run for president. So he went on Twitter rampages against me repeatedly, calling me a hack, a lightweight, and everything else. He sued me for $100 million, filed phony ethics complaints with JCOPE, the State Ethics Commission, against me. I had to hire my own lawyer to defend me, and the lead affidavit that accused me of unethical conduct was from an attorney named Michael Cohen. I always wondered what would happen to him. And then the front page of his son-in-law, Jared Kushner's newspaper, the New York Observer, was me as the evil Malcolm McDowell character in A Clockwork Orange. So before there was Lion Ted and Little Marco, there was Clockwork Eric. So I had my experience with him then. All of his claims against me were dismissed. He ended up having to pay off all the students he'd ripped off and $1 million fine to the state of New York. So, thank you. So, when he got elected president, I was not, I don't know if you remember, people were saying, well, maybe he'll normalize, he'll get good people around him, and he doesn't have to do the crazy campaign rhetoric anymore. And I was like, well, you don't know my man, he's not going back to normal. And sure enough, starting even before he took office, I started talking to my counterparts around the country who were, and I have to say, the coalition that I'm now proud to be one of the leaders of did not exist at the end of 2016. State attorneys general, our colleagues in local government, public interest lawyers, we were very casual allies. We'd occasionally sign on to an amicus brief together. We had no structure. We had no system for dealing with the onslaught that we faced starting in early 2017. And I'm really proud of the fact that we have now turned into the core of a really effective legal resistance. We have beaten them over and over again. And with all of your support, I've been able to continue the great work we do in our office, fighting crime and corruption in New York and working to come up with innovative programs like land banks and closing the gun show loophole and the iStop system for tracking prescription drugs. We've also been able to take on this extra set of duties of monitoring the horizon to see what garbage is popping out of Washington this week so that we can take action. And we do. Now, there's not a move they make that we do not challenge. And sometimes we slow them down. Very often we beat them. We beat them on their anti-Muslim travel bans. We now, thanks to an injunction we got, the DACA program is still open and DACA recipients are still putting them in the work. We have beaten Scott Pruitt over and over again as he tries to dial back environmental rules. Winning important victories to protect the Hudson River, to protect our air, our water, and our climate. He, in addition to being, having never, I think Scott Pruitt's motto is "Make America Grimy Again." He's never met met a form of pollution he doesn't like. Back when he was the Oklahoma AG and we were fighting then, there was some massive chicken plant that was polluting the water in Oklahoma. He came in as Oklahoma AG on the side of the chicken plant. So this is not a guy who, but he's also, they try and do things without following the rules, and this is very important. It is sometimes viewed as a disadvantage. People say, well, they get away with everything, they'll try everything. We're not going to be like them. We're not going to lower ourselves to be like them. We stand for the rule of law, and we will respect the rule of law. And part of the reason we keep beating them is they try and change programs without following the rules. There was an article written about our fight with them over the travel ban called Malevolence Tempered by Incompetence. That kind of captures our litigation against this administration. So if they're going to attack our immigrants, they're going to attack the LGBT community, our environment, workers, women, or our democracy, we will step to them. And in December, the New York Times published an article commemorating my 100th legal action against the administration. We're now way past that. And in recent, the last month or so, we've continued to take the fight to them, suing them over their efforts to end net neutrality, suing them over their efforts to rig the census to disadvantage states like New York. Very important case. And at the end of the day, though, my colleagues, I can't get an injunction that says you have to stop enacting bad policies and being such an embarrassment to the world. I'm not going to get that kind of an injunction. We do have to beat them at the end of the day at the polls. And that is where all of you come in, because the energy out there is extraordinary, but it has to be channeled. And I commend you for being here, but Ulster County is just a great example of democratic success, not just opposing bad policies. It's time for us to move beyond being the resistance and to show that we are building the next affirmative American movement for justice, for equality, for a clean environment, for universal health care, for the things we believe in. And you have a great story to tell here. So when people show up, and there are all these new organizations that show up, and I keep meeting with them and going on their websites, and it's incredible work, at the end of the day, it has to be channeled into actually winning elections, and that is something that, as I run for re-election this year, which is hard to believe, it's gone by very quickly, but I'm very proud of the fact that we're running with a very strong top of the ticket, and I will be in the critical House races, House seats, and state Senate seats as I travel around the state, dealing with and trying to channel this energy into groups like the Ulster County Democrats that can make sure it goes into what actually wins election. Now, we have had, in addition to legal success, we've had a lot of political success in the last year or so. We had a disease among Democrats that was treated like a law of nature, and I know all of you know, for trying to get people out to vote. Democrats vote in presidential years, and then there's a fall off in what we used to call off-year elections. It was like it gets cold in the fall. It's like a law of nature. Democrats don't vote. That changed in 2017. The national trauma of the 2016 election got people who, all of us have been trying to get involved in politics for years, got them awake, out of their chairs and out the door, and they are now marching, they are now registering people, they are now voting. We flipped 40 state legislative seats in special elections, which Democrats didn't used to show up much, across the nation, from the suburbs of Virginia to deep red areas in Missouri and Georgia. The Senate and congressional elections, Doug Jones in Alabama and Conor Lamb in Pennsylvania, historic upsets. This is a sign of what can happen. And here in New York, on April 24th, we had a special election in Westchester for the state Senate. Shelley Mayer, our candidate, badly outspent, but wiped out her Republican opponent because they had 3,000 volunteers. Now, when I was in the state Senate, I used to run the Senate campaign committee, we never had 300 volunteers for all our candidates. But that is a sign of the energy that's there that I promise, as your lawyer, to work with you on channeling this year. Believe me, you are making a lot of Republican House members and state legislators nervous. This is the year where we turn red districts purple and purple districts blue. What started out as the resistance, we now have to make into an affirmative campaign to show the American people where we're going. We can't just win by being against Trump, as tempting as that may be. We are not comedians, and sometimes it's important to remind folks of that. They can have fun and make fun of his hair or his kid's hair or whatever they want to make fun of. We have to take this seriously, fight on the merits, because the battle lines are drawn where we want them. Think about the fight we're in, because while this guy has sort of hijacked the more sophisticated Republican coalition that was assembled with great care over decades by the Koch brothers and their allies, he's now ripped the cover off. So there's no more covering up the fact that they welcome xenophobes and neo-Nazis into their party. I mean, this is not something that is open to argument. We believe in science. They don't. That's good. I'll take that fight, right? We believe in equal justice under law. They don't. I'll take that fight. And that's a fight that I take into court with me every week that I come in to represent you. We believe in humane, affordable health care, a living minimum wage so that no one who works full-time lives in poverty. We believe in great schools in every community and affordable higher education for everyone. We believe in unions. And we believe in an America that embraces diversity and pluralism and views it as a strength, not a weakness. So, my fellow Democrats, I joined the March for Our Lives in New York City, and it was an amazing, inspiring day and event, and the turnout and marches all over the state and the country, in Buffalo, Poughkeepsie, Rochester, Albany, and all across America and in other countries was incredible. But the best thing about it, from my point of view, was while we're marching and it was about guns and the need for sensible gun regulations that no sportsman or hunter would ever be affected by, which we can do, and which I will tell you, the majority of people I meet as I travel around to gun shows all support. The great thing was that it was about guns, but you couldn't walk 2 blocks without someone saying, "Are you registered to vote?" and having the forms. So to their credit, these young people who inspired this and have done such an amazing job to get the issue of sensible gun regulation back on our national agenda, they pivoted very quickly to understanding we have to win elections in order to really accomplish what we want to. This is not about short-term transactional politics. This is not about just settling for winning one round of elections or passing a few pieces of progressive legislation. This is about building a movement to take our country back and get us back on our historic trajectory, which, thank you, which is not regression, right? Our historic trajectory since the founding of the Republic is greater justice and greater equality with each generation. America, through a series of amazing historic movements, has moved ever closer to our national ideals over the centuries. The abolition movement, the women's suffrage movement, the civil rights movement, the labor movement, the LGBT equality movement. I truly believe, as I travel around the state and increasingly around the country, that we are now at the beginning of the next great American movement for justice and democracy, and we have to build that movement. Other generations have been called to rise to the occasion in times of national crisis. Now we are called, and I am ready to rise. Are you ready to rise? And let's rise together. Thank you.
Okay, you guys have been given the mission by our attorney. A couple of quick notes. Want to remind you, we have on May 21st at Best Western, we have our county convention.